The old piano sat in the corner of the music room like a silent judge, waiting. Mia stared at it through the window before pushing open the door, her backpack heavy on her shoulders. She was late again. Third time this month. But honestly, she didn't care much anymore. "Ah, there you are," Mrs. Patterson said, looking up from her desk. Her reading glasses hung on a chain around her neck, and her gray hair was pulled back in the same bun she wore every single week. "I was starting to think you'd forgotten about our lesson." Mia mumbled an apology and dropped her bag by the door. The room smelled like old wood and sheet music, that specific scent that reminded her of every boring Tuesday afternoon for the past 7 years. 7 years of piano lessons. 7 years of scales and exercises and pieces that all sounded the same to her. She slid onto the bench without enthusiasm. The keys were cool under her fingertips, yellowed with age on the lower notes. This piano had probably taught hundreds of students over the decades. Some of them probably loved it. Mia wasn't one of them. "Let's hear the folk song again," Mrs. Patterson said, settling into her chair beside the piano. "The one we've been working on, of course. The same piece they'd been doing for 3 weeks now." It wasn't even hard. Just a simple melody, the kind little kids could probably play after a few tries. But every time Mia played it, Mrs. Patterson would stop her and ask her to do it again with more feeling, more expression, more something. Mia didn't know what that something was, and she was tired of trying to find it. Her fingers found the starting position automatically. She'd played this so many times she could probably do it in her sleep. The melody began, note after note, technically correct but hollow. Even she could hear how lifeless it sounded, like a robot programmed to hit the right keys at the right time. "Stop, stop," Mrs. Patterson said gently, just 8 bars in. Mia's hands dropped to her lap. "You're playing all the right notes, dear, but you're not really playing. Do you understand what I mean?" Not really, Mia thought. But she nodded anyway, because that's what you do when teachers ask questions like that. She'd heard this feedback before. Many times. Her parents heard it too during the quarterly progress meetings. "Technically proficient but lacks emotional connection," was how Mrs. Patterson usually phrased it in her polite teacher voice. The thing was, Mia used to like piano. Back when she was small, maybe 9 or 10 years old, she'd actually enjoyed the lessons. She remembered feeling excited about learning new songs, proud when she got something right. But then came the recital, the one she still tried not to think about. She'd been so nervous that day. The auditorium had seemed huge, filled with parents and grandparents and siblings with cameras. She was supposed to play a piece from memory, something she'd practiced 100 times at home. But when she sat down at that big, shiny grand piano on stage, her mind went completely blank. The first few notes came out wrong. She stopped. Tried again, wrong again. The silence in that auditorium was deafening. She could feel everyone watching, waiting. Some kid in the back row had giggled. Finally, she'd run off stage crying. Her parents had been nice about it, said everyone gets nervous sometimes. But Mia had decided right then that she would never let herself feel that vulnerable again. If she didn't care, if she didn't try too hard, then she couldn't really fail. She could just go through the motions. Get through the lessons. Make her parents happy by staying in piano, but never risk actually caring about it again. Outside the window, rain started to fall. Soft at first, then harder, drumming against the glass in a steady rhythm. The sky had turned dark gray, making the music room feel smaller, more intimate somehow. Mrs. Patterson was quiet for a long moment. She tapped her fingers on the arm of her chair, thinking. Mia braced herself for another lecture about trying harder or feeling the music or whatever, but instead her teacher said something unexpected. "Forget the folk song for today." Mia looked up, surprised. They never just forgot the assigned piece. That wasn't how lessons worked. "I want you to try something different," Mrs. Patterson continued. She stood up and walked to the window, watching the rain. "I want you to just play. Anything that comes to you. Don't think about whether it's right or wrong. Don't think about technique or tempo or any of the rules. Just close your eyes and play whatever your fingers want to play." "I don't know how to do that," Mia said immediately. "I only know how to play songs that are written down." "Everyone knows how to do it," Mrs. Patterson said, turning back to face her. "You've just forgotten. When you were little, before you started formal lessons, I bet you used to bang on pianos and make up little tunes. All children do." That was true, actually. Mia had a vague memory of sitting at her grandmother's piano, making up songs about her cat. But that was different. That was just silly kid stuff. I can't improvise, Mia protested. I'm not good enough for that. This isn't about being good enough. There's no good or bad here. It's just playing. Mrs. Patterson's voice was firm but kind. Trust me. Close your eyes and see what happens. Mia felt her heart speed up. This felt more dangerous somehow than playing a regular piece. At least with written music, there was a right way to do it. This was just open. Anything could happen. She could make a complete fool of herself. But Mrs. Patterson was waiting, patient as always. And Mia was stuck here for another 40 minutes anyway. Might as well get it over with. She took a breath and closed her eyes. The room disappeared. All she could hear was the rain and her own breathing. Her hands felt sweaty on the keys. Just play something, she told herself, anything. Her right hand found a note. Middle C, safe, familiar, then another note. And another. Without planning it, she started playing that folk song melody they'd been working on. But then something strange happened. Her left hand joined in with a harmony she hadn't played before. It just felt right. The rain outside seemed to match the rhythm somehow. She added a few extra notes to the melody, letting it stretch and change. She wasn't thinking anymore. Her fingers moved on their own, finding chords she didn't know she remembered, creating patterns that surprised her. The simple folk tune became something else, something darker than lighter. It twisted and turned, growing more complex. She hit a wrong note but didn't stop. Instead, she turned it into something intentional, letting the music shift in a new direction. The fear she'd been holding for 7 years started to crack. Not break completely, but crack. Light getting through. Her shoulders relaxed. She leaned toward the piano instead of holding herself rigid. The music came faster now, her fingers dancing across the keys with a confidence she didn't recognize. She forgot about Mrs. Patterson watching. Forgot about being judged. Forgot about everything except the conversation she was having with the piano. It felt like the instrument was talking back to her, responding to what she gave it. They were creating something together. The piece ended naturally, gently, like the rain outside was fading to a drizzle. The last notes hung in the air. Mia kept her eyes closed for a moment longer, not quite ready to come back to reality. When she finally opened them and turned to look at her teacher, she was shocked to see tears running down Mrs. Patterson's wrinkled cheeks. Mia didn't know what to say. She'd never seen Mrs. Patterson cry before. Her teacher was always so composed, so professional. But now she was wiping her eyes with a tissue, looking almost embarrassed. "I'm sorry," Mrs. Patterson said, laughing a little through her tears. That was beautiful, Mia. Truly beautiful." Mia felt heat rise to her cheeks. She looked down at the piano keys, suddenly shy. "It wasn't that good. I messed up a bunch of times." No, you don't understand." Mrs. Patterson pulled her chair closer to the piano. "I've been teaching piano for 25 years. I've had students who could play Chopin perfectly at age 12. I've had kids win competitions and go on to music schools. But what you just did, that kind of raw emotion, that honesty, I haven't heard that in a very long time." Mia wasn't sure how to process this. Part of her wanted to dismiss it, to say her teacher was just being nice. But another part of her, the part that had just felt the music flowing through her fingers, knew something had been different. Something had changed. Where did that come from? Mrs. Patterson asked, leaning forward. "How did you learn to play like that?" "I don't know," Mia said honestly. "I wasn't really thinking. I just started with the folk song and then my hands kind of took over. It's like I wasn't controlling it anymore." "Does that sound weird?" "That sounds exactly right," Mrs. Patterson said. "That's what music is supposed to feel like. You stopped trying to control everything and just let yourself feel it. Let yourself be vulnerable." That word made Mia uncomfortable. Vulnerable. That was exactly what she'd been trying to avoid all these years. Being vulnerable meant getting hurt. It meant standing on that stage again, frozen and humiliated while everyone watched. But it had also felt incredible, for those few minutes. She'd felt more alive than she had in years. Free, like she could finally breathe properly after holding her breath for too long. Mrs. Patterson reached for her phone on the piano. "Would you mind if I recorded you playing something? I'd love to be able to listen to this again." Mia's stomach clenched immediately. "Record it? Why?" "Just for me," Mrs. Patterson assured her. "I won't share it with anyone. I just want to remember this moment. This breakthrough you've had, please." Everything in Mia wanted to say no. But she looked at her teacher's hopeful face and found herself nodding before she could overthink it. Okay, I guess. Wonderful. Just play like you did before. Whatever feels right. Mrs. Patterson set up her phone on the music stand, the camera pointed at Mia's hands on the keys. The little red recording dot felt like an eye watching her. Mia's shoulders tensed up immediately. This was a mistake. She couldn't do it again. Not with a camera there. But then she remembered what it had felt like just moments ago. That freedom. That release. She closed her eyes again, blocking out the phone. Blocking out everything except the sound of rain still falling outside. Her fingers found the keys. This time the music started softer, more hesitant. But then it grew, building on itself, becoming something entirely new. She played for maybe 3 or 4 minutes, losing track of time completely. When she finished, she opened her eyes slowly. Mrs. Patterson was beaming. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. The rest of the lesson passed in a blur. They talked about music in a way they never had before. Not about technique or assignments, but about feeling. About what made certain songs move people. About why music mattered. For the first time in 7 years, Mia left a piano lesson actually looking forward to the next one. That evening, Mia couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. She sat at dinner with her parents and younger brother, pushing rice around her plate, replaying those moments in her mind. Her fingers twitched slightly, remembering the patterns they'd created. "Earth to Mia," her brother Tyler said, waving a hand in front of her face. "Mom asked you a question like 3 times. Sorry, what?" Her mother smiled patiently. "I asked how your piano lesson went today." Usually Mia just shrugged and said fine. It was easier that way. But tonight she found herself saying, "Actually, it was really good. Mrs. Patterson had me try improvising and it was different. In a good way." Her parents exchanged a surprised glance. Her father put down his fork. "That's great, honey. We're glad you're enjoying it more." Mia went to bed early that night but couldn't sleep. Her mind kept wandering back to the piano. She wondered if she could do it again. If that feeling would come back or if it had been a one-time thing. Part of her was scared to find out. The next morning at school, Mia was pulling books from her locker when her friend Jessica appeared beside her. "Dude, you're famous." "What are you talking about?" Jessica shoved her phone in Mia's face. On the screen was a video. It took Mia a second to realize what she was looking at. The angle was from above, showing hands on piano keys. Her hands, playing the piece from yesterday. Her heart stopped. "Where did you get that?" "It's everywhere. Your piano teacher posted it last night. Look at the views." Mia grabbed the phone, her hands shaking. The video had been posted on some social media platform with the caption, "Sometimes a student surprises you in the most beautiful way." It had been shared and shared again. The view count was already in the thousands. "I can't believe you never told me you could play like that," Jessica was saying. "It's so beautiful. Everyone's talking about it." Mia felt like she couldn't breathe. This couldn't be happening. Mrs. Patterson had said she wouldn't share it. She'd promised it was just for her. But there it was, out in the world for everyone to see. "Everyone to judge, I have to go," Mia said, shoving the phone back at Jessica. She practically ran to the bathroom, locking herself in a stall. Her whole body was shaking. This was her worst nightmare. Worse than the recital. At least then, only a few hundred people had been there. This was online, permanent, forever. She pulled out her own phone with trembling fingers and found the video. The comment section was already full of people she'd never met saying things about her playing. Most were positive, but that almost made it worse. They had expectations now. They thought she was good. What if she could never do it again? What if that one moment was all she had? By lunch, it seemed like the entire school had seen the video. People who'd never spoken to her before stopped her in the hallways. "That was you playing piano, right?" "That was amazing." A girl from her English class asked for a selfie with her. The music teacher, Mr. Kim, pulled her aside and asked if she'd consider performing at the spring concert. Mia smiled and nodded and said thank you over and over until her face hurt. But inside she felt sick. This was attention she never wanted, fame she never asked for. She'd opened herself up for one moment, been vulnerable for one afternoon, and now the whole world was watching. After school, she went straight to Mrs. Patterson's studio. Her teacher looked up with a bright smile when Mia walked in. "Oh, Mia, I'm so glad you're here. Have you seen all the wonderful responses? People are so moved by your playing." I got messages from music teachers all over the state. One person said your video reminded them why they fell in love with music in the first place. Isn't that incredible? You said you wouldn't share it, Mia said quietly. Her voice was shaking. You promised it was just for you. Mrs. Patterson's smile faded. Oh, honey, I know. And I meant that when I said it. But after I watched it again at home, I just felt like other people needed to hear it too. Music like that shouldn't be hidden away. I thought you'd be happy. It's getting such a wonderful response. I didn't want this, Mia said, tears starting to fall. I didn't want everyone watching me, judging me. I just wanted to play. Mia, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you'd feel this way. I thought, but Mia was already leaving, the door swinging shut behind her. She walked home in the rain, not caring that she was getting soaked. When she got to her house, she went straight to her room and didn't come out for dinner. Her mother knocked several times, but Mia said she wasn't feeling well. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, watching her phone light up over and over with notifications. The video was still spreading. More views, more comments, more people who now expected something from her that she wasn't sure she could give. By Friday, the video had over 1 million views. Mia couldn't believe it. 1 million people had watched her play. 1 million strangers had seen that private moment she'd shared with Mrs. Patterson. Every time she thought about it, her chest felt tight. Her parents were thrilled, of course. Her mother kept showing her articles from local news sites and music blogs that had written about the viral piano prodigy. Her father kept talking about opportunities and how proud he was. They didn't understand why Mia stayed in her room most of the time now, why she barely touched her dinner, why she looked like she might cry at any moment. The messages wouldn't stop coming. Her social media accounts exploded with friend requests and comments from people she'd never met. Some were music students saying she inspired them. Others were older people saying her playing made them emotional. A few were from local reporters asking for interviews. One was from a summer music program offering her a scholarship. Tyler tried to cheer her up. He came into her room on Friday night with a bag of her favorite chips. Hey, superstar. Thought you might be hungry. Mia was sitting on her bed, hugging her knees. I'm not a superstar. I'm just someone who played piano one time. One time that made 1 million people feel something, Tyler said, sitting down beside her. That's pretty cool if you think about it. It's terrifying, Mia said. Everyone expects me to be this amazing pianist now. What if I can't do it again? What if that was just luck? Tyler was quiet for a moment, crunching on a chip. He was only 14, but sometimes he seemed wiser than his age. You know what I think? I think you're scared of the wrong thing. What do you mean? You're scared you can't do it again. But I think you're more scared that you can. Because if you can do it again, that means you have to decide what to do with it. And that's harder than just going through the motions like you've been doing. Mia looked at her brother. When had he gotten so smart? She wanted to argue with him, but deep down she knew he was right. The scariest part wasn't failing. It was succeeding. It was having to care again. On Monday morning, Mia walked into school with her hood up, trying to be invisible. It didn't work. In first period, her English teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, mentioned the video in front of the whole class. We have a celebrity among us. Mia, that performance was absolutely stunning. You should be very proud. Everyone turned to look at her. Some clapped. Mia wanted to disappear into her chair. She mumbled a thank you and stared at her desk for the rest of the period. At lunch, things got worse. A group of kids from the music program surrounded her table. You have to audition for the spring talent show, one of them said. You'd totally win. I don't think so, Mia said. Come on. You're like famous now. Everyone wants to see you play live. I said no. Her voice came out harsher than she meant it to. The kids looked hurt and backed away. Jessica, sitting across from her, gave her a concerned look. You okay? Jessica asked when they were alone again. I just want everything to go back to normal, Mia said. I want people to forget about the stupid video. I don't think that's going to happen, Jessica said gently. But maybe that's not such a bad thing. I've known you since 6th grade and I've never seen you excited about anything. But when you talk about that moment when you played, even though you're scared, there's something in your eyes, like you're actually alive for once. Mia wanted to argue, but she couldn't because Jessica was right. As terrifying as it was, she hadn't been able to stop thinking about how it felt to play that day. The freedom of it, the joy, she missed it. But every time she thought about sitting down at a piano again, anxiety gripped her throat. That afternoon, she skipped her piano lesson. She texted Mrs. Patterson saying she was sick, which wasn't entirely a lie. She felt sick. Sick with worry and fear and confusion. Instead of going to her lesson, Mia walked to the park near her house. There was an old gazebo there where she used to go when she needed to think. She sat on the wooden bench watching kids play on the swings, listening to their laughter. Her phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Patterson. Mia, I know you're not sick. I'm so sorry about posting the video. I should have asked you first. Can we please talk? Mia stared at the message. She knew Mrs. Patterson meant well. Her teacher had always believed in her, even when Mia didn't believe in herself. But that didn't make the hurt go away. That didn't make the fear disappear. Another text came through, this time from a number she didn't recognize. Hi Mia, my name is David Reeves. I'm a concert pianist and I saw your video. I was wondering if you'd be willing to talk. Your playing reminded me why I fell in love with music 30 years ago. Mia Googled the name. David Reeves was actually famous. Like, really famous. He'd played at concert halls around the world. He had albums and everything. And he wanted to talk to her? This had to be a joke. But when she clicked on the link he'd sent, it went to his official website. The message was real. A famous pianist had seen her video and been moved by it. The thought made her feel dizzy. She didn't respond to either message. Instead, she sat in the gazebo until the sun started to set, trying to sort through the chaos in her head. Everything had changed so fast. 1 week ago, she was just a girl going through the motions, counting down the days until she could quit piano lessons. Now she was being offered scholarships and contacted by famous musicians and asked to perform at talent shows. The attention felt like pressure building up inside her chest. Everyone wanted something from her now. They wanted her to be special, to be talented, to be that girl from the video. But what if that wasn't who she really was? What if that moment had been a fluke? When Mia got home, her mother was waiting in the kitchen. Honey, we need to talk. Mia's heart sank. She knew that tone. About what? Mrs. Patterson called. She's worried about you. She said you've been avoiding her and skipped your lesson today. Her mother pulled out a chair at the kitchen table. Sit down. Let's talk about what's really going on. Mia sat feeling like a little kid about to get scolded, but her mother's face wasn't angry. It was concerned. I know this has all been overwhelming, her mother said. The video, the attention, all of it. Your father and I have been so excited that we didn't stop to think about how you might be feeling. So I'm asking now, how are you really doing? To Mia's surprise, tears started falling. She'd been holding everything in for days and suddenly it all came pouring out. I hate it, Mom. I hate that everyone's watching me now. I hate that they expect me to be this amazing person I'm not. I just wanted to play piano without thinking about it, and now it's this huge thing and I can't breathe. Her mother came around the table and wrapped her in a hug. Oh, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. We should have protected you better. I don't know what to do, Mia said into her mother's shoulder. Part of me wants to never touch a piano again. But part of me misses it so much it hurts. I'm so confused. Her mother pulled back and looked at her. Can I tell you something? When I was your age, I was a pretty good runner. I had a chance to try out for a regional team. But I got scared. Scared I wasn't good enough. Scared I'd embarrass myself. So I never tried out. And you know what? I've regretted it my whole life. Not because I missed out on being famous or anything like that, but because I let fear make my decisions for me. But what if I fail? Mia whispered. Then you fail, her mother said simply. But at least you'll have tried. At least you'll know. The only real failure is letting fear stop you from living fully. Mia wiped her eyes. Her mother made it sound so simple. But it wasn't. Nothing about this was simple. That night Mia lay in bed, unable to sleep. Her mother's words kept echoing in her head. She thought about David Reeves's message. She thought about Mrs. Patterson's apology. She thought about Jessica saying she seemed alive for the first time. Most of all, she thought about those few minutes at the piano when she'd felt completely free. Maybe the question wasn't whether she could do it again. Maybe the question was whether she was brave enough to try. Tuesday morning came too fast. Mia had barely slept, her mind spinning with thoughts about what she should do. She decided during the long, dark hours before dawn that she needed to at least talk to Mrs. Patterson. She owed her teacher that much. After school, Mia found herself standing outside the music studio, her hand on the doorknob. She could hear scales being played inside. Another student was having a lesson. The familiar sound made something ache in her chest. She missed this place, even though she'd only been avoiding it for a few days. She waited on the bench outside until the other student left. Then she knocked softly. "Come in," Mrs. Patterson called. The older woman's face lit up when she saw Mia, then quickly shifted to concern. "Oh, Mia, I'm so glad you came." "Please sit down." Mia sat on the piano bench, her usual spot. It felt strange and familiar at the same time. "I owe you an apology," Mrs. Patterson said, pulling her chair close. "A real one. I got caught up in the excitement of what you did, and I completely failed to consider your feelings. That video was yours, not mine to share. I violated your trust, and I'm truly sorry." Mia had prepared herself to be angry, but looking at her teacher's genuine remorse, she felt the anger melt away. "I know you didn't mean to hurt me, but I did hurt you. Intent doesn't erase impact," Mrs. Patterson sighed. "I've been teaching for so long that sometimes I forget what it's like to be 17 and vulnerable. I should have protected that moment for you." "It's not just the video," Mia said quietly. "It's everything that came after. Everyone expects me to be this person now, this talented pianist. But what if I'm not? What if that was just one lucky moment?" "May I tell you what I see?" Mrs. Patterson asked. When Mia nodded, she continued. "I see a young woman who has spent years hiding her gift because she's afraid. And I understand that fear. After what happened at your recital when you were 10, it makes sense that you'd protect yourself. But Mia, that fear has been stealing from you. It's been taking away years of joy and growth and discovery. But what if I fail again?" Mia's voice was barely a whisper. "What if I get up in front of people and freeze just like before?" "Then you freeze," Mrs. Patterson said simply. "And then you try again. That's what every performer deals with. Even the greatest pianists in the world have bad performances. The difference is they don't let one bad moment define them forever." Mia looked down at the piano keys. She reached out and pressed middle C, letting the note ring out. "I don't know if I can be brave enough." "You already were brave enough. That day when you let yourself play freely, that took more courage than any perfect performance. You let me see the real you. That's the hardest thing any artist can do." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Mrs. Patterson said, "There's something I want to show you. That pianist who messaged you, David Reeves, he actually called me, asked if it would be okay to reach out to you. I told him I'd let you know." "He really contacted you?" Mia asked.
"He did, and he said something interesting."
"He said your playing reminded him of why he started music in the first place. Not for fame or recognition, but for the pure joy of making something beautiful." Mrs. Patterson smiled. "He also said he'd be happy to talk to you about handling pressure and expectations, if you ever wanted advice from someone who's been through it." Mia felt her heart beat faster. A world-famous pianist wanted to help her. It seemed impossible. "You don't have to decide anything right now," Mrs. Patterson said, "but I hope you'll at least think about continuing lessons. Not because of the video or the attention, but because I saw something wake up in you that day, and it would be a shame to let it fall back asleep." That evening, Mia did something she hadn't done in days. She sat down at the old upright piano in their living room. Her parents had bought it years ago, hoping one of their kids would use it. Mostly it collected dust and held family photos on top. She brushed off the keys and sat on the squeaky bench. Her fingers hovered over the keys, uncertain. The house was quiet. Her parents were making dinner in the kitchen, and Tyler was upstairs doing homework. Nobody was watching. Nobody was recording. Nobody had any expectations. She started playing the simple folk song Mrs. Patterson had assigned weeks ago. The one that had started everything. But this time she played it slowly, carefully, trying to hear it the way she had that rainy afternoon. What had made it special? What had made it come alive? As she played, she realized something. It wasn't about playing the notes differently. It was about letting herself feel something while she played. On that rainy day, she'd stopped trying to control everything. She'd stopped being afraid of making mistakes. She'd just let the music be what it wanted to be. She tried it again, closing her eyes. This time, she let her emotions in. The nervousness she felt about everything that had happened. The confusion about what to do next. The tiny spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, she could learn to love this again. The folk song transformed under her fingers. It wasn't as dramatic as the improvisation that had gone viral, but it was honest. Real. And that felt like enough. When she opened her eyes, Tyler was standing in the doorway. That was really pretty, he said. You think so? Yeah, different from the video, but still good. He came and sat on the floor near the piano. Are you going to keep playing? I don't know yet, Mia said honestly. I'm trying to figure out if I'm doing it for me or for everyone else. Can it be both? Tyler asked. Like you do it for you, but other people get to enjoy it too? Mia smiled. When did you become so wise? I've always been wise. You just never noticed because you were too busy being stressed about piano. Over the next few days, Mia started playing again, just for herself, in her living room when nobody else was home. She didn't record anything, didn't post anything, just played. Sometimes it felt amazing, like that first breakthrough. Sometimes it felt awkward and forced. But she kept showing up to the piano, and slowly she felt something shifting inside her. She responded to David Reeves's message. Kept it simple. Thank you for reaching out. I'd actually really like to talk to you about handling pressure. I'm kind of drowning in it right now. He responded within an hour. I completely understand. Would you be free for a video call this weekend? I'd love to share some things I learned the hard way. Saturday afternoon, Mia sat in her room with her laptop, nervous about the call. When David's face appeared on screen, she was surprised by how normal he looked. Kind eyes, a warm smile, casual t-shirt, not intimidating at all. Thanks for talking to me, Mia said. I'm still kind of in shock that you even saw my video, David laughed. I'm on social media like everyone else, and your video stopped me in my tracks. You know why? Why? Because you weren't performing. You were just being. That's the rarest thing in music. Most people, even professionals, are so worried about technique and perfection that they forget to actually communicate. But you were having a conversation with that piano. That's what made it special. Everyone keeps saying that, Mia said, but I don't know if I can do it again. Every time I try now, I feel like I'm being watched, like I have to live up to something. That's the trap, David said, leaning forward. The minute you start playing for the audience instead of for the music, you lose the magic. I struggled with that for years. Still do sometimes, if I'm honest. How do you deal with it? I had to learn to reconnect with why I started playing in the first place. Not for applause or reviews or record sales, but because sitting at a piano and making music fills something in my soul that nothing else can. Once I remembered that, the pressure became less important. They talked for almost an hour. David shared stories about performances that went wrong, about times he almost quit, about the constant battle between art and expectation. He made Mia feel less alone in her fear. Here's what I'd tell my younger self, David said as they were wrapping up. The world doesn't need another perfect pianist. There are plenty of people who can play every note correctly. What the world needs is people brave enough to play truthfully, even if that truth is messy or scared or uncertain. After the call ended, Mia sat thinking about his words. Playing truthfully. That's what she'd done that day with Mrs. Patterson. She hadn't been trying to be perfect. She'd just been honest. 3 weeks after her conversation with David, Mrs. Patterson made an announcement at the end of Mia's lesson. I'm organizing a small community concert next month. Just my students and some local musicians. Very casual, very low pressure. Would you consider playing? Mia's stomach dropped. I don't know if I'm ready for that. I'm not asking you to recreate the viral video, Mrs. Patterson said gently. I'm just asking if you'd like to share your music with a small group of people who love piano. No cameras unless you want them. No social media. Just music. Mia looked at the piano keys, running her finger along the smooth white surface. She'd been playing regularly again, finding her way back slowly. Some days were better than others. But she was learning to be okay with that. Can I think about it? Of course. Take all the time you need. That night, Mia talked to her family about it over dinner. I don't know if I should do it, she said. What if I freeze up again? What if everyone's disappointed? Her father, who usually stayed quiet during these conversations, spoke up. Mia, do you remember when you were 6 and you wanted to learn to ride a bike? Dad, what does that have to do with anything? Just hear me out. You were so scared of falling that you refused to take the training wheels off. We tried for months. Then one day you just decided you were ready. You got on that bike, rode about 10 feet, and fell right into a bush. Thanks for the reminder, Mia said, but she was smiling a little. The thing is, her father continued, you got right back on, and you fell again. And again. But you kept getting back on because you wanted to ride more than you were afraid of falling. That's courage. Not the absence of fear, but doing something even though you're scared. Tyler nodded. Plus, that concert sounds way less scary than the internet. At least you can see who's watching. Her mother added, whatever you decide, we're proud of you. Whether you perform or not. You've already done the hard part. You found your way back to music. Mia went to bed that night still uncertain, but somewhere around 2 in the morning, lying awake in the dark, she made her decision. She would do the concert, not because she had to, not because people expected it, but because she wanted to. She wanted to feel that freedom again, that connection with music, and if she fell into a metaphorical bush, well, at least she'd have tried. The next few weeks passed in a blur of practice and nerves. Mia chose 3 pieces to play. One was the folk song that had started everything, but she'd arranged it her own way. The second was a classical piece she'd always loved but never performed. The third was a complete improvisation. She had no idea what she'd play until she sat down. That was the scariest part, but also the most exciting. Mrs. Patterson kept the concert small, just like she'd promised. About 40 people. Families of students, a few music teachers from other schools, some neighbors who loved piano. The venue was the community center down the street from the music studio. Nothing fancy, just a small stage with an upright piano that had seen better days. The night of the concert, Mia stood backstage in her simple black dress, listening to the other students perform. Her hands were sweating. Her heart was racing. Every instinct told her to run, to make up an excuse, to protect herself from possible humiliation. But then she remembered what David had told her. Play truthfully, not perfectly. She remembered her mother's story about regret. She remembered how it felt that rainy afternoon when she'd finally let herself be free. Jessica found her backstage. Hey, you okay? You look kinda pale. I'm terrified, Mia admitted. Good. That means you care. Jessica gave her a hug. You're going to be amazing. And even if you're not, you're still my best friend, and I'm proud of you for doing this. Mrs. Patterson appeared in the doorway. You're up next, Mia. Ready? No, Mia thought, but she nodded anyway. Walking onto that stage felt like moving through water. Everything seemed slow and surreal. The lights weren't that bright, but they felt blinding. She could see faces in the audience. Her parents in the 3rd row, Tyler holding up his phone to record but then putting it down when their mother elbowed him. Mrs. Patterson settling into a seat near the back. Some of her classmates scattered throughout. And in the very last row, a surprise. David Reeves had actually come. He must have driven 2 hours to be there. When their eyes met, he gave her an encouraging nod. Mia sat at the piano bench. The keys were slightly sticky, not perfectly in tune. The bench wobbled a little. It wasn't ideal, but somehow that made it feel more real, more honest. This wasn't some perfect concert hall. This was just her and a piano and some people who wanted to hear music. She took a deep breath and began with the folk song. Her fingers found the first notes, and almost immediately she hit one slightly wrong. The old Mia would have panicked, stopped, maybe run off stage. But this Mia just kept going. She leaned into the mistake, made it part of the music, let it take her somewhere unexpected. The song grew and changed, becoming something both familiar and new. As she played, something magical happened. The fear didn't disappear, but it became background noise. What moved to the foreground was the music itself, the way the notes connected to form phrases, the way the melody could make her feel hopeful or sad or determined. She wasn't performing for the audience. She was sharing something with them. There was a difference. The second piece was harder technically, and she stumbled through a few passages. But she didn't let the mistakes stop her. She kept going, kept breathing, kept finding her way back to the heart of the music. When she finished, there was genuine applause, not because it was perfect, but because it was real. Now came the improvisation. This was the moment she'd been most afraid of. No safety net, no written music to fall back on. Just her and whatever came out of her fingers. She closed her eyes and let her mind go quiet. She thought about the journey she'd been on these past weeks. The fear and the courage, the falling and the getting back up. The learning to trust herself again. And then her fingers started to move. The music that came out was honest. Sometimes it was beautiful, sometimes a little rough. It wandered in unexpected directions, surprised even her. There was a moment about halfway through where she completely lost track of where she was going musically. And instead of panicking, she just let herself explore until she found her way back. The improvisation lasted maybe 4 minutes, though time felt strange while she was playing. When the final note faded, there was a beat of silence. Then the applause came, louder than before. But more than the applause, what Mia noticed was how she felt. Alive, present, free. She'd done it. Not perfectly, but truthfully. Backstage afterward, she was surrounded by people. Her parents hugged her, both of them crying a little. Tyler said, "That was actually cool. Even the messy parts." Jessica grabbed her hand and squeezed it, not needing to say anything. David Reeves waited until the crowd thinned before approaching her. That, he said simply, was exactly what music should be. "You showed up as yourself. That's the real wonder." Mrs. Patterson was beaming. "I'm so proud of you, Mia. Not just for performing, but for being brave enough to be imperfect in front of people. That takes real courage." On the drive home, Mia looked out the window at the passing streetlights, feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Not just relief that it was over, but genuine happiness. Joy even. She'd faced her biggest fear and survived. More than survived. She'd actually enjoyed parts of it. "So," her mother said from the front seat, "how do you feel?" Mia thought about it for a moment. Tired, relieved, but also, "I think I want to do it again." Her father glanced at her in the rearview mirror, smiling. "That's my girl." That night, Mia couldn't sleep, but this time it wasn't from anxiety. It was from possibility. She thought about all the music she wanted to learn, all the ways she wanted to grow, all the moments of connection she might experience if she kept being brave. The viral video was still out there, still being watched by strangers. She'd never get that moment back, never get to choose whether it stayed private, but she was learning to make peace with that. Because that video, as scary as it had been, had cracked something open inside her. It had forced her to decide whether she'd live controlled by fear or guided by courage. She picked up her phone and typed a message to Mrs. Patterson. "I've been thinking, maybe we could work toward a bigger performance. Not because I have to, but because I want to." The reply came quickly. "I'd be honored to help you prepare. We'll go at your pace." No pressure, Mia smiled in the dark. No pressure except the good kind. The kind that comes from caring about something enough to try. The kind that comes from wanting to share something beautiful with the world, even if your hands shake while you do it. She didn't know where this path would lead. Maybe she'd pursue music seriously. Maybe she'd just keep it as something she loved. Either way, she'd learned something more important than any piece of music. She'd learned that the real wonder wasn't in playing perfectly. It was in showing up honestly, fear and all, and letting yourself be seen. That was the bravest thing anyone could do.